Today, we officially celebrate the 75th anniversary of the existence of the Beta Zeta Sigma chapter, now the Miami Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. The significance of this historic achievement must be validated, recorded, and extolled. Because of the foresight of our 10 charter members, this organization has grown to a membership of over 300. Our community service projects are vast and varied, and our presence in governmental, educational, and in many other professions is a continuous impact in areas of need. Our contributions of time, talent, and treasure to the Miami-Dade community must be acknowledged. We are proud of our heritage and our history. As we reach this pinnacle of recognition, accomplishment, and maturity, we are proud yet humbled. We realize the challenges of remaining an influential and dedicated group of women, determined to be sources of inspiration and to be role models to the young ladies of this community. Today, we are at our peak. We have reached our apex. I quote from a book called Shaped to Its Purpose by Mary Elizabeth Vroman. Shaped to its purpose, the seed is planted. The sapling grows. Flings wide its branches, the roots are secure.
In 1941, there were 7 members of Delta Sigma Theta sorority living in Miami. Those women identified 3 ladies interested in becoming a Delta. On May 24, 1941, the Deltas in Miami submitted an application to the national body to charter a chapter in this city. The charter of Beta Zeta Sigma chapter was granted on June 9, 1941, during the administration of National President Elsie Austin. The charter members of Beta Zeta Sigma were Susie C. Lucas, Lugusta Tyler Costin, Frances S. Tucker, Maxine Pollard Bright Davies, Dorothy Robinson Newton Maxwell, Mildred Jackson, Alice Jones Hawkins, Pearl Tate Jenkins, Onita Beide Mickens, and Primrose Barnwell Tibbs. In 1957, by direction of Grand Chapter at National Headquarters, all alumni chapters' names were changed to identify their respective cities. Beta Zeta Sigma chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated became the Miami Alumni chapter. Each year, between the months of January and March, members of this chapter join every other chapter of Delta to celebrate and honor the 22 founders of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Captivating experiences are planned to express praise to those women of vision, faith, scholarship, and to their commitment of public service in their communities. Every Founders Day celebration renews a vision and mission to continue a legacy of inspiration and a devout spirit of sisterhood. In the 1940s and 50s, sorority members attended church services together, dressed in red and white, and collectively contributed a financial donation to that church to enhance its youth program. During the 60s and 70s, Founders Day was a joint program with Mr. Leroy Washington on Channel 10 via his weekly television show called Amazing Grace. As the 80s and 90s emerged, themes were chosen to address visionary solutions and issues of significance to women and blacks. Sorors and community leaders who personified the Delta legacy of community service were honored. In 1990, our theme was a salute to Delta's great teachers. In 1999, the Founders Day program emphasized Delta's national theme, Answering the Challenge, Sisterhood, Scholarship, and Service. Delta's focus since the turn of the century, the 2000s, has been on youth. The personal opinions of college students' futuristic visions have been shared in their roles of guest speakers. In 2009, Founders Day celebrated the sorority's 96 years of scholarship and service. All Deltas were admonished to be cognizant that we are a sisterhood called to serve, and that we are the change agents. The 2013 program celebrated the sorority's 100 years of providing public service and activities since its inception. The contributions of Miami alumni to the local community since 1941 have expanded and perpetuated programs relevant to the philosophy of our traditions. During the 2014 Founders Day program, chapter members who have served Delta for 50 years or more were recognized. In 2015, Miami alumni honored community organizations that successfully developed projects focusing on either economics, education, health awareness, or political discernment. In 2016, as we bask in the rich legacy of the founders, and as Miami Alumni celebrates its 75th anniversary, we vow to maintain our high standards, our dedication, and our resourcefulness to the needs of this community.
All chapters of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated select a week in May to emphasize the importance of education, scholastic achievement, and preparation for future endeavors. Since its inception, the Miami Alumni Chapter has made recognizing educators and education a deliberate accentuation of focus during its celebration of May Week. Delta Annie McCrae was a dedicated and perennial May Week volunteer. She was a teacher and understood Delta Barbara Jordan's maxim: education remains the key to both economic and political empowerment. Because of McCrae, the chapter expanded its vision of education to relate to trends in achievement, guidance, and vocational opportunities. Our service in the Miami-Dade community for over 75 years has validated our belief in educational accomplishments. We are the literary image of Mandela's quote, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." 2 years after its chartering, Beta Zeta Sigma began to sponsor their version of Jabberwock, which is an international program mandated by Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. This activity became a program to raise money to support its scholarship fund. During the early years, elementary-age students, elementary high school sororities, fraternities, and individual adults competed in this unique happening. Community members who were acknowledged and famed teachers and artists were selected to judge the best participant of the evening. In the early 60s, for a few years, Jabberwock became a debate contest between high school students invited to discuss the pros and cons of current affairs and/or culturally relevant subjects determined by Miami alumni. The students who participated were from Booker T. Washington, Carver, Mays, and Northwestern high schools. By 1966, the programs had returned to entertaining the audience through the arts. Duke Ellington was the star performer that year. Delta Vinette Carroll was an MC during a program in this era. As Jabberwock became more popular in the community, WPBT Channel 2 filmed some of the programs in its entirety, or segments of the show, to be televised at a later date. During the 80s, the National Executive Board of Delta Sigma Theta instituted an initiative directing all chapters to begin a program to adopt a black business. Consequently, during a Jabberwock program, Miami Alumni once again changed the format of its presentation. The Inner City Children's Touring Dance Company, under the leadership of dance maven Florine Nichols, was formally adopted with all the pomp and circumstance of this esteemed affair. Judge Wilkie D. Ferguson, a sitting official of Miami, performed the ceremony in front of an amazed and appreciative audience. In the early 90s, once again, Jabberwock was changed. The Josephine Baker story was presented at the downtown Burdines department store. An added attraction was a champagne luncheon fashion show featuring their famed models wearing their designer clothes. The next year, the same format was followed. The exception was a salute to African queens. Since 2000, Miami Alumni's emphasis has been to showcase the very talented pool of children in this community. This medium, the chapter's Jabberwock, has become a favorite annual avenue for talented students to ostentatiously prepare, create, and shape their craft. This program has proven to be a successful mechanism to support the growth of the participants' artistic aptitude. Jabberwock ennobles and inspires us. It fosters creativity, and it serves as a forum to help us express our values and culture. During the late 50s, Miami Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated began to have a Christmas dance, or the Delta Party, during the holiday season. The party was free, and it was the chapter's way of thanking the Miami community for supporting its various programs. The dances were held mostly in Dade County facilities, Dinner Key Auditorium, or Bayfront Park. Deltas and their guests brought food and liquid spirits for their tables to be enjoyed and shared together. During the late 60s, the 70s, and early 80s, in Miami, many doors that had been closed began to open as committees made plans for the December dance. Delta Marguerite Rayford suggested that their social event of the season be renamed the Poinsettia Ball. The chapter agreed, and the Christmas dance, or the Delta Party, was transformed. The various committees began to book establishments that would impress our community's sense of flair, class, and refined taste. The dance since that time has been held at the Hyatt, the Radisson, the Intercontinental, the JW Marriott, and the Miccosukee Resort. During the late 80s, the format of the dance changed somewhat. At the very elegant Signature Gardens in South Dade, Miami Alumni presented its first Poinsettia Ball midnight breakfast. On every table was a tablegram for each guest. Sorors of the chapter purchased ads in the booklets to wish their guests happy holidays, to thank them for their support, and to congratulate each other for special activities, accomplishments, or achievements. The metamorphosis of the Poinsettia Ball has been tremendous. As social customs, economics, and our community changed, so did this event. The chapter's community thank you has grown to be a major scholarship fundraiser. The cost of tickets has gone from free, $3, $75, to a high of $100 per person. Back in the day, the annual ball was a formal affair. Now the style of dress is more relaxed after Five attire has become the preferred apparel. The music has evolved from the big band presentations for the waltz, the foxtrot, and the rumba, to current popular music with a DJ for guests to do the slide, the wobble, and other line dances. The phenomenon of Miami Alumni's Poinsettia Ball is ever-changing. Through the years, most everything changes. However, there has been one constant at our dance. Whenever Deltas gather at an appropriate time and place, if you listen carefully, there is a soft melody that will permeate the atmosphere. A harmonious sound drifts into the room, surrounding the circle of connected sorors. These women are linked in the purity of the words of their sweetheart song. If she wears the Delta symbol, then her first love is DST.
In the late 80s and early 90s, community-based organizations in the Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia areas began to sponsor an event featuring men and their cooking prowess. In 1994, Miami Alumni introduced its first Cooking Gents Affair. Men in the Dade County area who were amateur cooks or professional chefs were invited to make their best culinary dish to be donated, served, and shared at an event planned as a fundraiser. The gentlemen selected had a passion for cooking and for food. They enjoyed a reputation as culinary experts within their own social circles. Their dishes were as diverse in ethnicity, food groups, and presentations as is our South Florida community. At the first program, some of the gents served guests tastes of conch salad, sauce, collard greens, string beans, peas and rice, barbecue ribs, shrimp and rice, steak tartare, red velvet cake, pineapple upside down cake, and an abundance of sweet potato pies. Men who did not consider themselves great cooks were also given a role in this activity. They were called beverage gents. These men donated bottled water and a variety of sodas and beers. They also assumed the responsibility of selling those items to the guests. The guys in this category formed a closeness with each other and were proud of their distinctive service. As this event's reputation grew, so did the stature of gastronomical culinary skills. The variety of dishes donated, presented, and served not only encompassed all of the food groups, but the quality, scope, and utilization of various cooking methods tantalized the audience's expectations and excitement. Each year, more than 75 men in Miami-Dade and Broward counties have been invited to participate in this affair. There are over 10 individuals who have served as gents since the affair's inception. Most of the gentlemen who return year after year to participate, both cooking and beverage, have been doing so for at least 15 years. Many of the men are the husbands, sons, fathers, and brothers of sorors in the chapter. Miami Alumni's annual Cooking Gents Affair has grown from a little more than 100 in attendance to over 500 guests who eagerly await the parade of gents and the vast food taste selections and the DJ'd line dances for audience participation, which ends the evening. It has become obvious that dining with a common purpose enhances the food's taste and provides a viable vehicle to support a worthy cause. This affair demonstrates that we can enjoy a culinary-based event that nourishes both our bodies and our souls. What a concept! Charter member Dorothy Robinson Newton Maxwell attended a debutante cotillion in Boston, Massachusetts in the late 1940s and witnessed an event sponsored by the alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. She was very impressed with the affair's formality, its traditions, its pomp, and its subtle message of cultural awareness and the academic achievement of the young ladies being presented. After returning to Miami, Delta Maxwell proposed that Beta Zeta Sigma initiate a cotillion. The chapter agreed. In May 1951, the chapter presented its first cotillion in the parish hall of St. Agnes Episcopal Church in Miami's historic Overtown. 25 talented, charming, beautiful, and academically sound young ladies were formally introduced to society. There was an overflowing audience present to witness Miami's first celebration of emerging young black womanhood. By the 60s, Miami Alumni's debutante cotillion had become the social event of the spring. The initial debutante meetings were attended by the selected young ladies and included discussions about etiquette, dress, proper and expected behavior, the importance of academic achievement, and how to apply for college entrance. Rehearsals for the cotillion were held every Sunday afternoon at Booker T. Washington or Northwestern Senior High Schools or Miami-Dade Community College, the North Campus. After a few weeks, the Deb's escorts, their fathers, and mothers joined the rehearsals. The young men had to learn a special dance to perform with the Deb, and so did the mom. As that special day grew closer, it was time to practice the presentation of the debutante. That would include the young lady, her parents, and her escort. Black Miami would come to witness this unique affair, a formal ceremony designed to replicate the European version of a debutante cotillion. Audiences would fill Bayfront Park, Dinner Key Auditorium, or the Miami Beach Convention Center to see this spectacular presentation. As the young ladies did their traditional bow to society, walked out to meet their parents and their escorts in the beautifully decorated ballroom, there was a hush among the crowd that indicated the awesomeness of the moment. The smiles on the faces of the debutantes, their parents, and their escorts, accompanied with the pride that filled their hearts, reflected the prodigious expectation of charter member Maxwell's memory of the cotillion she witnessed in Boston. As the years passed, the traditions of the cotillion became entrenched in the pomp of this celebration. The selection process of the young ladies, the sights of the cotillion, the weekly rehearsals, the attire of the girls, their parents and escorts, and the debutante's bow became sacrosanct. In the late 60s, Delta Helen Jackson Davis, a member of Miami Alumni, was the choreographer of the dance. She designed another now traditional component of the presentation. Before the scholarship winners were announced, the debutantes formed a visual representation of the Greek letters of the sorority, Delta, Sigma, Theta, signifying the culmination of the cotillion. In the 70s and 80s, 2 more years were added to the debutante program. 10th and 11th graders were included and became part of our mentoring groups. These young ladies were called sub-debutantes. After a few years, the debutante program was expanded once again. It was decided that our young ladies needed to know, understand, and experience their blackness. The 11th grade sub-debutante activities were restructured to include an Orita program. This is an Afrocentric activity developed and designed to teach young ladies their history and culture. In April 1992, at the Greater Bethel AME Church in historic Overtown, 45 young ladies participated in the first Orita ceremony. This program is now imbued into the sorority's debutante program and is a traditional building block in the young ladies' maturation process. The chapter embraced the importance of the sub-devs learning about their African culture prior to the introduction of the cotillion experience, which evolved from a European practice. Later in the 90s, 2 other age groups were added. The Delta Academy for girls in grades 6 through 9 is an academically based science, technology, engineering, and mathematics program. Subjects that are not normally pushed for girls are a focus to foster an interest and awareness in the possibilities of a future in those arenas. The Delta Violets are girls in the primary grades whose focus is on reading, math, social skills, and cultural awareness. The chapter felt the need to expand its commitment to young ladies in the community and developed an extended pipeline of mentoring programs from primary grades through high school. In 2015, the sub-debutantes activities were further enhanced to include the Unmasking My Family Roots, a presentation of the 10th grade group's research and development of their family tree. The Miami Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated has had an unequivocal impact on Miami's black female population. The debutante cotillion has grown from 25 young ladies in 1951 to more than 150 in some years. Today, thousands of young women have benefited from the mentoring, training, leadership, and influence of hundreds of Deltas during the last 65 years. Many are now professionals and leaders in the fields of education, law, medicine, business, governmental administration, and other occupations, too numerous to mention. They all can attribute a measure of their achievement to the time and commitment afforded them by Deltas.
Miami Alumni stands on the threshold of completing 100 years of service. It is time for self-assessment and an appraisal of the chapter's continued value and status. The outside forces of cries for justice, human rights, and the declaration that Black Lives Matter are indicators that though some of our lifestyles have changed since 1941, yet, in many ways, in the true measures of success, not very much has changed for blacks. Though the demands and complexities of this moment in time may strain our senses of accomplishment in a supposedly democratic society, it is a natural phenomenon to continue to thrive and flourish. Miami Alumni will continue to evaluate its worth and to prepare an inheritance for the next generation of Deltas. The opportunities for greater services and greater demands must be offered to those individuals who will need even more. There is an answer, a solution. The Miami Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated has a complete and an unwavering faith in the power from above. God has demonstrated to us His immense mercy and fortitude. We know for every mountain